So we're going to go over the EFT monthly payments for the corrective care plans whenever patients have out of pocket for their corrective care. After the patient agrees to care and chooses a monthly EFT option, it's time to get them into QuickBooks for monthly payments. Make sure that you have an authorization to bill a credit card signed, and make sure it's filled out, the credit card information is there, and the patient signs it. Once you do that, you're going to go into QuickBooks, and after entering your credentials, you are going to either look the patient up if they're already saved, or create a new customer, put in all of their information to create the invoice for the full amount that they're paying. For instance, if their invoice is for $2,000 and they're paying $250 monthly, that's 8 payments. So you would create an invoice for $2,000, and we're going to go ahead and go into a different screen to put the $250 payments into the system. So you would finish here, and you would go into QuickBooks Payments. This is going to be our merchant account, and this is where we do all of our EFTs. So after putting in the credentials, you will come to a home screen. You're going to have two options. You're going to have an option to create a recurring payment. You will also have an option to manage recurring payments. The one we're going to go over right now is create a recurring payment. So again, once the invoice is made in QuickBooks for that patient, you would add that same patient into the recurring payment. Make sure you put in the customer, their first and last name. Put it in again under first name and last name. You don't necessarily need their email or their account number. Once you finish this, you go down into payment details. You name the recurring payment, and normally the name that I use for the recurring payment is monthly plan, since most of the patients are on the monthly. The frequency would be monthly frequency. I very rarely do weekly or quarterly because most patients are on the monthly plan. You choose a start date, and the start date would be the day that the patient does the payment. So for instance, if I had a patient sign up today, which is March 10th, if they want their first payment to go out on the 15th, I will choose a start date of March 15th. If the patient that started today did their very first payment today and you charge them back in QuickBooks, what we do, we go then into the next month and choose the 15th to be their first payment, since they already did the payment for this month. So it just depends how the patient wants to pay. If they want to pay them all in 6, 8 installments, or if they want to do the first one with a credit card in front of you, it's up to you. You also, if you have 6 or 8 month plan, there will be an end date to that. For instance, if we start the payment plan on March 15th, if it's an 8-month plan, it would be over in November. So I go to the November calendar, and instead of choosing the 15th, I would choose the day after, just to make sure we don't have any problems with the payment. So I would choose the end date the day after. I would then go down into the invoice type, and the type would be amount only. And I would type in the amount that the patient agrees to pay monthly, whether it's $200, $300, depends on the agreement that you get from the patient. Down here, then you would go into a payment method, and here's where you enter the patient's credit card information. You would make sure you put in the correct information, expiration date, name. You don't necessarily need the billing address. You definitely need a billing zip code, and you want to make sure the information is correct. Otherwise, it will not process the card. It will actually not let you save if you have incorrect card number. The system knows. Once you have all that information in here, you press next, and it will save this patient into the recurring patient database. If you want to make sure that this was saved, you go up on the top where it says back to all recurring charges. You click on that, and you're now in manage recurring payments. This is where we have all of our patients who are on the monthly EFT, and we have a status here, whether the patient is active or whether the patient is suspended. And here's where you do any changes to that account. For instance, if you need to change the patient's next billing date, if you need to update the patient's credit card information, if you need to delete the patient, you do everything here in this their account. There's little tabs here that will let you edit the information. You can also see payment activity. If the patient is doing monthly payments, you're able to see how many payments they've done so far. And that's about it. So here's where you can manage everything after you enter the patient into the system.